What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined again by my dad Sean, and today reactions to the classics. We got one I've been looking forward to for a while. We're going to be ranking the Beatles albums from worst to best. I put worst in quotes because there's not a bad Beatles record in my mind. It really just goes from good to better to best. So we're going to get rocking. There's 13 albums. We'll just kind of trade off.
This is the Super Bowl for me, man. I've been waiting for this for a while. And I know we both went through and re-listened to every single Beatles album. If you haven't been a viewer of this channel, down below we reviewed every single Beatles album in a track-by-track format. I'm the researcher of the group. I spent hundreds of hours literally poring over the Beatles. So this one is a fun one. This is not, we are not saying this is an authoritative list.
No.
Plenty of you are going to disagree. I'm also going to mention songs on each album that I really love and songs that for me are weak points. Some of those songs are going to be your favorites that I think are weak points. That's cool too. That's the beauty of music. So Trey, let's rock this. I haven't seen your list. You haven't seen mine, but I will tell you one thing. I bet you any amount of money you want, we agree on number 13. It's Yellow Submarine.
Yeah, that's mine too. I think that's probably going to be the least controversial pick in this entire listing. We only have 4 original songs on this, and then the rest is the orchestral section from George Martin. And besides Hey Bulldog and It's All Too Much, there's really nothing new here that kind of will grasp you. So I think this was easy, number 13.
See, for me, I like Only a Northern Song. I am not a fan of Hey Bulldog, so that would probably be the first comment down below that people don't like. It has 2 songs that were already released before, All You Need Is Love and Yellow Submarine. 4 new songs that they were contractually obligated by United Artists to contribute to the Yellow Submarine soundtrack. They were recording Sgt Pepper's at the same time, and it was well known that any song they didn't like, they said, well, this is lousy, let's give it to the Yellow Submarine soundtrack. So that kind of tells you where we are with that one. Still though, Trey, as you said, that side one that's all Beatles, it's still Beatles. It's still pretty darn good when compared to other people. What do you got at number 12?
Number 12 for me is Beatles for Sale. We start off with 3 really solid Lennon tracks. We got I'm a Loser, No Reply, Babies in Black. My favorite song on here is 8 Days a Week, just with that fantastic fade in here. Where we drag down a little bit and why I put this below some of the other albums we have coming up is just the covers aren't as strong. Rock and roll music, Ringo's Abysmal, Honey Don't. We have the
Not gonna argue with you there.
The Mr. Moonlight, Kansas City, Hey 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 medley as well. In the middle there, it falters a bit for me, so that's why I got it this low.
My number 12 is With the Beatles. It's ranked 420th by Rolling Stone on its list of 500 greatest albums of all time, which surprises me. This is where it switched from McCartney-Lennon to Lennon-McCartney in the songwriting. Unlike Please Please Me, which was recorded in one day, this was recorded over 7 sessions across 3 months. But they were in between live performances, concerts. I mean, these guys were running like crazy, which I'll get into on further down the line here. Of they recorded their first 4 albums in a period of 21 months, which is insane.
Ridiculous.
They were working 7 days a week. You just mentioned 8 days a week on your album there. It was insane. All My Lovin' is a standout. Devil in Her Heart, not so great. Has Revolver, Beethoven. Please Mr. Postman, Money. It's not a bad album at all, but it's going to be my number 12. Next up is Beatles for Sale. This kind of is a change for them, a little bit darker tones because they were worn out, Trey.
You notice on that album cover they look haggard.
This was the 4th album in the 21 months. You already mentioned Mr. Moonlight. Not a fan of that. Honey Don't. It's famous on our channel as not caring for that at all. Lennon is really hammering out stuff still at this time. He's dominating. Many people think it's because Paul was too enamored with Jane Asher at this point. So Lennon is still carrying the group, which is not a bad thing. For me, this could have been a little higher because the highs, No Reply, I'm a Loser, 8 Days a Week, and you mentioned Babies in Black, are very big highs. So if this is the 11th best album you ever put out, you're doing pretty well. What do you got at 11?
For me, we just flip-flopped.
That's what I kind of figured. I could have went either way.
Yeah, I got With the Beatles coming in at 11 for me. I do think it starts off really strong with first 3 tracks, It Won't Be Long, All I've Gotta Do, and All My Lovin'.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of that Please, Mr. Postman.
I know you are. You love that. That's a great track, man.
Cover, and then it ends with the great cover of Money. That's What I Want. So some great tunes in there, just not as much stand out for me to set it apart from what we got upcoming, and then George here was still finding his way. His tracks aren't as strong.
Sure.
So that's why I got it there, and then we're gonna move on to me for my number 10 pick, the debut, Please Please Me. We got that 1963 sound. This is where we were introduced to the lads. Got some of their more iconic, early Beatlemania tracks on here with Love Me Do, Please Please Me, I Saw Her Standing There, Twist and Shout. I think there's an really underrated too, and Anna, Go to Him in there.
Right.
Misery's pretty solid, and then we got a couple songs in there that bring it down a little bit for me. A couple covers. Not a big fan of A Taste of Honey at all, or Boys, or Chains. But obviously they're coming out of the gate, firing as a whole here. So that's my 10 spot.
Well, as I went through these albums, I was really surprised at what ended up at 10 for me, because when I listened to this album, I love it. But to think that it ended up at 10, but for me, it's A Hard Day's Night.
Okay.
Which is crazy, because it's got A Hard Day's Night, it's got Can't Buy Me Love, it's got Anytime at All, or Anytime at All, as I like to say it in my John voice. I'm happy to see a dance with you, and I love her. Those are my least favorite on there. Those are not horrible songs by any means. It's 307th on the Rolling Stones Top 500 of all time. The first side has songs that were on the movie. The second side are songs that didn't make the movie. Like I said, it is a great album. Lennon dominates this album as well. He wrote 9 of the 13 songs primarily, and he also sang 9 of those, which, early Lennon, early Beatles is just, John
something
is
special, man.
John is strong. They really set the tone in the music industry of, oh, wait, we don't have to have songwriters over here and artists over here. So crazy as it sounds, my number 10 is A Hard Day's Night. My number 9, Let It Be. Now, obviously, it's got Let It Be. It's got The Long and Winding Road, I Me Mine, Across the Universe. Two of Us, one of my favorite Beatles tracks. It has Dig a Pony. I don't like that too much. And it has One After 909. Don't like that too much, but it's probably written in 1957, so it's a little bit different deal. This album really gets slammed. We know this. I actually like this album a lot. I know Let It Be Naked, and a lot of people like that more, and all the controversy with Spectre, and all the controversy, all this stuff. But I'll tell you what, if this is your 9th best album, I mean, you got to be something special, because if a couple tracks were switched in here, it would be probably top 4 for me. That's how good I think it is.
Well, yeah, we great minds think alike, I guess, because I got Let It Be as my number 9 as well.
Okay.
Really love just how it starts with Two of Us, kind of that last great Lennon McCartney
so good
composition together. Of course, the title track is legendary. You got The Long and Winding Road in there, Across the Universe, one of Lennon's best songs. It's drugged down just a little bit, just kind of with the skits in there. Maggie May, Dig It. I'm not a big fan of For You Blue or One After 909 as well, but George has the great I Me Mine in there. So I enjoyed it, and of course ends with Get Back. So that's what we got there. And for my number 8, it's going to be A Hard Day's Night. You kind of touched on the specifics of the record. Lennon is my favorite Beatle, and since it's so Lennon dominated here, I really don't think there's like a mediocre track on here at all. Some of my favorites being, of course, the title track. I think Things We Said Today is nice. And, underrated in there. Anytime at All. Can't Buy Me Love, of course. If I Fell is great. Just very consistent record.
I can't argue with that at all. My number 8 is the debut, Please Please Me, number 39 on the Rolling Stones Top 500 Albums of All Time. It was recorded in a single day, all the original tracks that weren't already out as singles. It was rushed because they released Love Me Do, and it went up on the UK charts, and they said, oh, we better get these out there. I touched on it earlier. 8 of the songs were written by Lennon and McCartney. Really changed the paradigm of music, and really opened up people's eyes. The great songs, I Saw Her Standing There, starts the album, what a way to debut. Ask Me Why, Please Please Me, Love Me Do, There's a Place, the Twist and Shout that John did to finish it in one take. They only had 12 minutes left. If you remember his throat, he had laryngitis. He was drinking
Yeah.
milk. I don't know where they thought that was a good idea back then, but and he hammered it out. You mentioned it, A Taste of Honey. Ooh, I can't stand that song. I will tell you what, for a debut, and the harmonies, man, a totally different sound on this thing as you're going to get when we get, you know, up to these later,
Oh, yeah.
different kinds of studio manipulation. But wow, what a number 8. Next up for me, Trey, at number 7 is the White Album. It's number 10 on the Rolling Stones top 500 albums of all time. There's 30 tracks on here. Only 16 of these tracks actually have all the Beatles on them at the same time. We were at a point where McCartney and Lennon were recording in separate studios at the same time during some of this. So while I think this album is good, in my opinion, in Beatles lore, it's overrated from the fact there's 30 songs. There's great songs on here, and you've got Hey Jude and Revolution, which came out of this recording, but it didn't make the album. Obviously, there's 2 versions of Revolution on here, but not the single version. So you have my great tracks are While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Revolution, and I'm So Tired. You know how much I like that song.
Oh, yeah.
Good tracks. I like Bungalow Bill, Rocky Raccoon more than others, Happiness is a Warm Gun. The ones I don't care for too much, Wild Honey Pie, Revolution 9, Honey Pie, Mother Nature's Son, Why Don't We Do It in the Road, Piggies, Martha My Dear. I don't think those are horrible songs by any means. And then I'll start the controversy up again. Songs that are good, but I think are overrated. Obla Di, Obla Da, Back in the USSR, Blackbird, go ahead and bring them. And also Helter Skelter. I know we want to talk about how it started the metal revolution, all that. Those are all good songs, but I don't think they're upper echelon songs. So 30 songs is nuts. I know Sir George Martin wanted to keep it to a single album. If they would have done that, oh my goodness. But the lads were stretching their legs. Everybody wanted to do their own thing. So that's kind of what we had. What do you got for number 7?
Number 7 for me is going to be Help. From the opening track of Help to, you got a lot of underrated gems on here, I think, from You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, I've Just Seen a Face. Of course, you got the great Yesterday, iconic, as well as Ticket to Ride. Just very consistent, just from start to finish. I wish we would have ended the record with Yesterday instead of Dizzy Miss Lizzy, but
me too. Me too. Gosh, yeah, me too.
But they kind of like to end with a more rocking tune. So all in all, what a fantastic record, and one that I almost put up a little higher. But we go up to number 6 for me is going to be Magical Mystery Tour, and this I put a little lower just in the sense that we went based off of what like Capitol released whenever they released the complete CD, and so this is kind of canon now, even though that second side is made up of the singles around that time.
Right.
So it's really great, especially on that B side with Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane, Hello Goodbye, All You Need Is Love. And then on that first side, we of course got I Am the Walrus, we got Fool on the Hill, we got the title track, we got a interesting instrumental in Flying. So all in all, man, this is a very consistent psychedelic period record for the Beatles.
Trey, my number 6 is Help. It's number 331, the Rolling Stones top 500 albums of all time. You mentioned when you ranked it that you almost ranked it higher, and that is the thing it's already so tough, right? Because there's not a track on here that I dislike, but man alive, there are some high highs on this thing. Obviously, Help. I've Just Seen a Face, one of my favorite songs of the Beatles. You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, Ticket to Ride, It's Only Love, and of course Yesterday. And for me, Yesterday is one of the most iconic songs of all time. It's not even one of the 3 best tracks on the album for me, so go ahead and blast your comments. That's not anything against Yesterday. It's how good this album is. I'd almost had to rate it higher. I couldn't find a way to get it past higher than 6, but I'll tell you what, this has maybe as many songs that I go back and revisit as any album that they put out. So really tough for me to only put it at 6, but 6 is Help. And my number 5 is Rubber Soul. You also have Day Tripper and We Can Work It Out, which was put out on the same day that this was released. If that would have been on the album, oh my. It was ranked number 5 on the Rolling Stones top 500 of all time. After the British version of Hard Day's Night, it's only the second Beatles LP to contain only original material. This is the first time where they weren't interrupted with, oh, we got to go out on tour, oh, we got to do this. They were actually able to stay in the studio and just concentrate on the album. Now, the problem was back then you want to have a Christmas release, so they were very rushed to get it out. But they were able to focus, and it starts this little run that we're about to get on where, oh my goodness, we are going to get into some unbelievable stuff going through Revolver and Sgt Pepper's and using the studio as an actual tool. Harrison said it was his favorite Beatles album. It's the first one not to feature their name on the cover to tell you how famous they were. I'm not a fan of Michelle.
Me neither.
And while I like the song Run For Your Life, the lyrics are very troubling. Even Lennon said that later on. It's not a bad track. Of course, you got Norwegian Wood. You've got Nowhere Man. You've got I'm Looking Through You, which is one of my favorites. And then you've got, I mean, right up there is the Beatles song with a little bit of comp, In My Life.
Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
This thing was so influential in the whole music industry. First, they were influential earlier on writing your own songs. Now they're influential on, the album is not some sort of throwaway over here and release all the singles on their own. The album itself is going to be solid, song after song after song. The album's an art form, and that changed music forever. So I can't believe I've got this at 5. Like I said, it was such tough competition.
Oh yeah, once you get in these like top 5 or 6, there's a lot of, you could go, you know, one way or the other. My number 5 is, I know a lot of people's number 1 or 2, but I got Sgt Pepper's here. Obviously one of the most culturally significant records of its day. What an artistic statement, showed what a pop music record could be as an art form. And you know, we started off, of course, with the title track, going into Ringo's best song in my opinion, with a little help from my friends. We have Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I'm a big fan of Getting Better. I think it's a little underrated. Of course, Benefit of Mr. Kite. I think the B-side falters a little bit, though.
I agree. It gets a little weaker.
I am a fan of Within You Without You. I know a lot of people aren't. We have a couple weaker songs, and I think Lovely Rita and When I'm 64.
And they're back to back.
Yeah, exactly. So that you know, when you get here, you got to really nitpick whenever you're deciding.
Yeah, they're good songs, but we're trying to like almost perfection kind of pick it apart. It's hard to do.
Exactly. And then of course we finish with arguably their greatest composition in Day in the Life. So for me, that's going to be my number 5, and then we go to my number 4 record that I almost put in number 3, but we're going with the big double album, the White Album. As you mentioned, 30 songs. I think the A-side is the strongest.
I agree.
We start with Back in the USSR, going into that lovely transition to Dear Prudence, which I think is a pretty underrated tune. Glass Onions, very solid. Happiness is a Warm Gun. Why My Guitar Gently Weeps. And then some of those Paul compositions that I wasn't as big a fan of during my initial review, such as Mother Nature's Son and I enjoy a little bit more now. This is one I don't listen to as often just because it's over an hour and a half, but I think it's I think it is their album that is best listened to as a whole.
I agree with that too.
As opposed to just maybe cherry picking tracks out. So just the wide array of styles that's within this. Are certain tracks in here that probably shouldn't be? I think so. It is. You know, there is a valid criticism that it might be a little bloated, but that's, I think, one of the charms of the White Album itself, is they threw everything in the kitchen sink at it, and you know, and it produced what we have today. So that's my number 4.
Well, my number 4 is Magical Mystery Tour. You already kind of covered it a little bit. We use all UK versions and track listings except for this one, so we kind of cheat a little bit there, but this is the US version that's kind of accepted as the canonized version now. So the hits are on the B side. The A side's pretty good. We got to this point because there were 6 new songs. It was too long for an EP, which were done a lot in the UK, so they made that a double EP, but Capitol Records in the US is like, US record buyers don't buy EP, so we ended up with this, and wow. This thing is tremendous. You already covered a lot of it. You got Strawberry Fields Forever. You got Penny Lane. You got Baby You're a Rich Man. You got All You Need Is Love. Hello Goodbye. And then the underrated George Blue Jay Way. So this is one that I revisit a lot, front to back. I don't think there is a weak track on here. Even the flying instrumental, like you mentioned. So now we're up to rarefied air.
Oh yeah, top 3.
Now we're up to where you could interchange a lot of things. And my number 3 is Sgt. Pepper's. Now, I know, as you said, Rolling Stone has his number 1 greatest album of all time, and I get that for the influence and all that stuff. And I actually thought, as we'd gone through the whole discography and I went back, that I would rate this album lower. but I really just couldn't get there. It sold over 32 million worldwide. Not that commercial success makes anything a great album. Today's music will tell you that, but it's won 4 Grammys. They spent over 400 hours during a 129-day period recording this, not including mixing, which Jeff Emmerich said took another 300 hours. Brian Epstein pressured George Martin for singles, and that's how you ended up with the Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane.
Imagine if that was on here.
And that's what Martin said. He said the biggest mistake he made with the Beatles was not holding that for the album and releasing it, because back then the Beatles had a strict policy. They were not going to release any songs on their album. They were already released as singles. So my favorites are kind of your favorites on here. I'm not a fan of When I'm 64 and Lovely Rita. They're not bad songs. I know a lot of people love When I'm 64. I'm still a little ways from there, but maybe When I'm 64, that'll be my favorite song. But the standouts, obviously, A Day in the Life. Within You, Without You, I love. The Benefit of Mr. Kite. She's Leaving Home. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. With a little help from my friends. I just couldn't get any lower with this album. And I kind of tried to, because I think Rubber Soul is very underrated. I think Magical Mystery Tour, but this thing still clocked in at number 3 for me. And if you guys think we're hating on this album, we did both give it 9.75s on our original out of 10. So we're just at a point now where you mentioned we've got to really try to find something wrong to differentiate.
Yeah, my number 3 is going to be Rubber Soul. I just love this, jam-packed with fantastic tunes. It's a great way to spend, around 30 minutes of your time. From the starting Drive My Car, we have great compositions from John here, like Norwegian Wood. This is our first semblance of real kind of experimentation.
Yes, sitar, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the first album, I'd say, that George really just like... It's kind of up in his game a lot with his tunes on here. I love Wait, the Girl, The Word, great underrated tracks, I believe. And then, of course, like you mentioned, we got Nowhere Man and In My Life, which are 2 of my favorite. And I also like Run For Your Life, controversy aside.
It's a great tune.
Yeah, the only dips for me is Michelle and What Goes On. But even What Goes On has that kind of Western charm.
It's a different,
for Ringo in there. Ringo. So that's my number 3. And then that means we have the same top 2.
We do. I wonder if they're going to be the same.
And number 2 for me is going to be Abbey Road. Is that yours?
I'm with you. So
All
we
right.
kind of dually discussed these last 2.
I mean, just it's got to be the best swan song album that there's pretty much ever been, I'd say. Obviously, it didn't come out last, but it was recorded last.
And it was only ranked 14 in the Rolling Stones Top 500 of all time, so it ranked below several of the other ones, and that kind of surprised me.
Yeah, me too, because, man, this from the starting Come Together, we have 2 of George's greatest compositions.
Oh, my goodness, man.
And Something and Here Comes the Sun.
We debated those 2 songs forever. We were ranking for the Harrison song rankings. It's hard to know which one of those is better. It depends what day it is.
And then we got just the fantastic She's So Heavy, just one of the best instrumental displays that the Beatles ever put forth. I love Octopus's Garden from my man Ringo here. The harmonies on Because are fantastic, which leads us right into the medley, which is just one of their finest achievements, I think. Just so many great tunes, ending with the Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight in the end.
Never Give Me Your Money is tremendous in there. See, what brings it down for me, it doesn't really bring it down, but I mean, I got to have it somehow. How do I separate the top 2? Is Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam. They're not bad at all, but that's the thing that barely I gave this a 9.75 and reviewed it. You actually gave it a 10. That was the only thing. Like I said, we are splitting hairs here. This album has such staying power. Back in 2011, it was the #1 selling vinyl album in the world. It still sells like crazy. It's unbelievable. And the 50th anniversary, which just was last year, it went up to #1 again in the UK. Again, man, you just cannot. It's crazy. This was it for them. But like you said, nothing could no way be anything better than this as a swan song. So that brings us to #1. When we reviewed this album, we both gave it 10s, obviously, I guess. And we both said it was the best album we ever heard. I thought, boy, when I go back and re-listen, this has been several months since I've listened to it, just because with this channel, there's no time to listen to music when you really want to. You're listening to all the stuff you're reviewing. I thought, is this really still going to be a 10? Man, it's like an old friend you haven't seen in a long time. #1, Revolver. It's number 3 on the Rolling Stones top 500 albums of all time. We talked about it in Rubber Soul. The studio was starting to become an instrument. Oh my goodness, I already mentioned it in the Sgt Pepper's, over 220 hours in the studio of working things around on this. It also produced Paperback Writer, backed with Rain, which is a very underrated track. Now we kind of get even with Lennon and McCartney. Great songs, Taxman, Eleanor Rigby, I'm Only Sleeping, Here, There, Everywhere, She Said, I Like Good Day Sunshine, and Your Bird Can Sing, Tomorrow Never Knows, Love You Too. Middle of the Road, Dr. Robert, I Want to Tell You, Got to Get You Into My Life, and For No One. And the only song on here I categorize as average is Yellow Submarine. So there was really no way for me to do anything but put this at numero uno. I mean, you talk about song after song.
Oh yeah, this is the Beatles album I come back to more than any other. I think this is the record where they're all kind of at their peak.
Everybody was kind of, Lennon's up here, McCartney's here, the other guys are here, and then we kind of start moving around. And you're right, like everybody's here. Obviously, George ascends to a much higher level eventually, but they're all kind of meeting in a place.
All at the same time.
You don't go, oh no, here's the George track.
Yeah.
Or, oh no, here's the Ringo track. Even though I'm not a great fan of they're all there, man.
And because Ringo's drumming on Tomorrow Never Knows,
my
and
goodness.
a couple of these other songs are just really stand out. Of course, George coming into his own with I Love You Too and Taxman, and then Paul, this is where I think this is the definitive line where he just takes another step. I love for No One, Eleanor Rigby, of course, and then Here, There, and Everywhere is one of my favorite songs of all time. And Lennon, of course, coming in and hot with I'm Only Sleeping, She Said, and Tomorrow Never Knows. So that it's going to be my number one, and who knows, that could change one day as the years go by.
Course, yeah.
But as it stands today, man, and just what a wonderful record, and just still blows you away all these years later.
Oh man, I'll tell you, this was a great experience to come back through this thing, and over the past week I've listened to every one of these albums in their entirety again. It just re-solidifies what we already known, what we've talked about tons of times. Man, there is no second place, for me at least. It's the Beatles here. I don't even know who's in the rear view mirror off in the great distance. Like, their amount of productivity in 7.5 years,
it's crazy.
It's
unmatched.
Unbelievable, man. It is just unbelievable. What an awesome thing to go back all these years later, and I can listen to something that came out in 1963 and in 2020 go, man, that's better than anything I hear today. So what a wonderful journey this has been. And we still got anthology and some other Beatles stuff that'll be coming up on the channel.
Absolutely, y'all. Let us know your rankings down below. I think that's the beautiful thing about the Beatles.
Sure.
There could be so many different combinations, and you could talk yourself into it.
Oh, yeah.
And this was a fun video. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you enjoyed this. We upload a bunch of reviews, reactions. We have live streams, a fun little community here. I think you'll enjoy it. And until next time, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Happy listening, my friends, and we will see ya.